Now, we all know how amazing it is to observe wildlife in person. There's really nothing like it, in my opinion. But when we leave the wildlife, they don't just stop existing. They're still there, and they're often doing things which are amazing. And sometimes there are creatures out there that we don't even realize. In today's video, let's look at how technology lets us watch the wildlife even when we're not there. We're going to talk about things from home Wi-Fi cameras to remote off-the-grid systems. We're going to talk about viewing, but also listening to things like birds. And I'm going to cover all of that in this video on remote viewing for wildlife, right after this. So in today's video, I'm going to break it down into two sections. We're going to talk about remote watching, and we're going to talk about remote listening. I've got examples of each of those categories, some setups, what you might expect from a cost standpoint. And then, of course, I'm the practical wildlife photographer. I always show you results and I always show you examples. Now, because of that, sometimes my videos go a little bit longer than a traditional 10 or 15-minute YouTube video. I do that because I really feel it's important to see the topic, but also the example. So in today's video, I want to give you a background of my situation. So I've used remote listening devices and remote watching devices for several years, and I have had tremendous success. And it's allowed me to see things that I could have never seen at my home. Now, my home is in a residential neighborhood. I live a half a mile away from an industrial complex, mostly for trucking. And then in between, I have a buffer zone of a wooded area and a quarry. Now, because I sit away from the other homes a little bit, it's pretty ideal. I got to get the best of both worlds, a little bit of that suburban environment, but I also get this wooded feel around my home. I've also introduced a lot of native plants onto my property and done a lot of restoration, added some watering holes. So those have really, really helped. When we get to each of these topics, this isn't going to be how to attract them, but I am going to mention it. So you'll see some of these situations as I go through my examples. I'm going to break this into two sections. So viewing versus listening. And I want to start by just getting right into this remote viewing for wildlife. So for remote viewing, I kind of have three categories here. We're going to talk about Wi-Fi cameras or being closest to home. We're going to talk about cellular devices. So further away from home, they can be much further away from home, but still require connectivity. And then totally remote devices, which means they have no connectivity at all. And these are devices you would manually have to go out and check on. Now, the first topic we're going to cover are Wi-Fi cameras. Before I get into some individual options, I want to mention the connectivity. So you do need to check your system and what the range of your router, so how strong that router is, and then also the device it's connecting to. For me personally, I've got at least 3 devices, separate types of devices, and a total of about 6 connected to my Wi-Fi system that are monitoring all the time. 3 of those are Ring cameras, and then I have 2 remote viewing devices. Now, for connectivity, you're thinking like maybe 100 to 150 feet. It really just depends on walls and where your router is located and where the devices are located. But for me, I have a range of about 100 to 150 feet where I can get connection to my Wi-Fi system. The advantages of this are, one, it's connected all the time. So I can do remote viewing or remote listening 24 hours a day, all the time. And the connections are typically a little bit faster, and depending on the option, it might be free. So you might be able to connect for free to your existing Wi-Fi. You don't need a subscription. So there's a lot of advantages to Wi-Fi. This is my first choice if I can have any type of connection. Now, personally, I use Ring cameras. So at my house, I installed a Ring doorbell first. I installed just to watch my deliveries and to make sure nobody's in my driveway. I have one over my garage. And then I added a 3rd one for remote wildlife viewing. Now, I'm very open about how I purchased all of these, so none of this was given to me. I'm not a sponsor for Ring. I do like it. The app, very, very easy to use. I find the connections to be very, very secure. I think I get pretty good quality video, but I also get audio. So if I want to just turn that Ring camera on at any time, in fact, I've got my phone here. I could turn it on right now and listen to what's going on at my bird pool. Now, I decided location-wise, obviously you want to put it on an area where you think you're going to get activity. So I keep this on my bird pool. And I can't tell you how many different subjects I've seen over the year. I'm going to flash a few things over here on the side. These are just various subjects that I've found coming into this pool. So I've gotten obviously dozens of species of birds. But at night, I get things like fox, deer, I had a screech owl that used to come visit me pretty regularly for a long time. In fact, one night I saw two of them there. I've seen a lot of really, really interesting stuff, including some cute raccoons and some possum. So I have never seen a possum on my property during the day. It was really nice knowing that they're here and living because I've seen them multiple times on those security cameras. It also gives you an idea for me to track time of year and what's happening. So I have had success with Ring. There are other companies out there. One of the advantages of Ring is if the plans are still the same, you used to pay like one camera, one fee. Two cameras would go up in cost, but when you added the third and fourth camera, there was no additional cost. So my third and fourth cameras, I actually have 4 Ring cameras. I have one that I use remotely, so it's connected to my Wi-Fi, but I can put it anywhere on my property. As a success rate, I can give you a really good example of my success with this. Ring cameras, I have gone through one Ring doorbell the whole time. I've had, I think, just one on my garage the whole time. It's a floodlight. And I've gone through about 4 of these remote cameras. I still own 2 of them. I think one of them, it may be only 3. I think one of them, after about 2 years, I had to replace. It kind of stopped working. It didn't pick up the signals. I didn't get motion detection. And then the nighttime camera started to get a little funky. So I returned that and I bought a new one. So my success rate's been pretty good. I've had it for a total of about 5 years, that third camera, and I think I've replaced it once. Now these cameras, that remote viewing camera is outside all the time, regardless of elements. So 110 degree days in the summer and 0 degrees in the winter, it's out there and it's always monitoring that little wildlife pool that I have. So for me, Ring camera worked really, really well. I'm going to put a couple other companies out here because it's not, again, this isn't an infomercial. There are a few other companies I'll list on the side. I have tried, before I set up the Ring camera, I tried a third party. It was a really good price. It was like 80% off. I bought it, worked great for a year, and then it just completely stopped working. So at that point, I decided to go with Ring. And I think people who have used Blink have had success with that as well. But there are other vendors out there. So regardless of the system you use, I'm just giving you my experience with Ring. All right, so wildlife viewing via Wi-Fi is a great option to see what's around your property. If you're anywhere near a wooded area, or if you can set up a place where you think there's wildlife activity, you're probably going to find some pretty cool stuff. By the way, seeing a screech owl on my property was pretty eye-opening as a photographer. It gave me an opportunity to go out and see if they were ever out there during times when I could photograph them. Now, I'm not one to stalk nests, so I don't go out and try to be too intrusive. So I've never found where they're nesting, but I do know that they come back pretty much every year. So that's my little section on wildlife or Wi-Fi viewing, but it's not limited to Wi-Fi. So the next topic I want to cover are cellular cameras. Now, I never owned a cellular camera before in my life. So I had an opportunity to work with a company called GardePro. This is not sponsored by them, so there's no kickbacks for me, but they did send me this device. I've never used a cellular service trail camera. So I'm going to show you the exact device they sent me. I don't do unboxing videos. I think it's a waste of time, but I will show it to you set up in my yard. They sent me the camera and a solar panel. The total cost of that when I went on their website, and these prices can fluctuate a little bit. I'm going to say $100. So for $100, I get a cellular camera and a solar panel. Now that one's been out there, and I've had this. I'd like to test my equipment. It's been out there for 3 months. The battery still reads 100% because it's in the middle of summer and I'm getting plenty of light out there. It's in part shade, mostly sun, but part shade. No problem with batteries or life. One of the things about me, if you watch my channel, I like to use the products and actually use them and not just use them for a day and put out a video. So 3 months it's been out there. The first month, I think it was first month or two, I had a cellular plan that they gave me and said, here's the cellular plan. Now, I'll get to cellular costs in a minute. What I was curious to see is, did it work? And was I getting notifications? And so yes, it works. It would provide a series of still images and then a series of videos. I'll do for this specific product, I'm not going to do a full review, but I'll give you an idea of what I thought of this product. So one, it was very, very durable, built very, very well. I liked how robust it was. Fairly basics in terms of optics and video resolution, so I could go out and view it on this tiny little screen and set it up. But I love the app. I could do live viewing at any point, or I could wake up the next day and see what happened on my app. It was really, really neat. The advantage of this is the quality as good as Ring, or my personal experience, probably not quite there. But I'm putting it in an area where I don't have a Wi-Fi connection. When placing trail cameras, I will just tell you this, if you're ever interested in trail cameras, put them in an area where you have walkthroughs. So I have a chain link fence, and then I have my dog's fence, and in between it's about 20 feet. Any wildlife that comes through my property from one area to another has to walk through this area. That's where my camera is. I'll put some examples, since I love to show you the examples, of some of the things that I saw. So deer, obviously, a lot of them. I found this little buck. He had these tiny little horns on him. He was getting his first set in, it looks like. I found raccoon. I saw dozens and dozens of rabbits. So many rabbits, I stopped counting. I also saw a few things that I had never seen on my property, or at least not as good a look at this. So I've heard coyotes behind my house. I mentioned I live kind of in this mixed area. I've only seen them once as it was running through my property, and the dogs went nuts. This one was pretty interesting because one night a coyote came and just stared at the camera. Now this lets me know exactly time of year where something's happening, and it gives me an idea as a photographer can I take advantage of this situation? So the cellular trail cams work very, very well. I had no problems with the one that I got from GardePro. I'm going to put, in fairness to them, I want to put the full screen up of this model so that if anybody's interested and wants to take a look at it. Now, before I receive a product, I'm not going to recommend it if I don't like it. So I could have just said I used a trail camera and not given the name, but I did like this. I looked at their Amazon reviews, very consistent between 4 and 4.5 stars. Themes were really nice build, really good quality. So no real questions around the quality of the product or that it worked. A couple of people commented about the plans and had concerns about the type of plan. So I'm going to put what they have listed as their plans on this site as an illustration of what you can expect. For an annual plan, somewhere between $70 and $150. I think that's a pretty fair range. So figure around, $6 to $10 a month for a plan. The lower plans don't give you as much access. The higher plans give you pretty much unlimited photos and video. So you can do like your video live all the time. There are limits to this. So if you choose a lesser plan, you may be limited and you may run out of images for a month, or you may run out of viewing. That's pretty typical, by the way, of most of these types of plans from what I saw. I tried to research a few companies, but this company made really good stuff. I enjoyed the product, so I want to thank them for sending it to me. The solar panel, they sell 2 solar panels, so there's only a $10 difference in cost. One is 3 watts, I think, or 3.5, and the other one's 10. They gave me the 10-watt one. It's more than sufficient for here. My battery's been out there for 3 months. I've never changed the battery. It's running off that solar nonstop. So felt really, really good about the durability and the product and all that. So cellular devices can work well. Kind of the pros and cons, or some of the things you need to just be careful of, is they will have some kind of a cellular plan attached. You do need to have a solid cellular signal, but you don't need Wi-Fi. At some point, you can always go out and grab the SD card. So when that cellular service ran out for me, I didn't renew it. I actually forgot. I went out to check and I realized I didn't renew it. So I grabbed the SD card and everything was stored on that SD card. So it was really easy to set up, good image quality, it handled nighttime well, and the activation seemed a hair slow. So my pictures would show up first. So if something was like walking across, I would see the pictures of it through the whole frame, but the video I might catch just toward the end. So I'm not sure if that's typical of all of these trail cameras, but that was my experience with this one. So pretty good success with that. I liked this idea, though, of being remote, and I didn't have to be Wi-Fi. The final category is remote, complete remote. Now, I will tell you, this would be your trail cameras set up in a good location, no cell service. You're going to go out and you're going to have to check them daily, weekly, and you're probably going to pull that SD card like I did and bring it back. Don't need to do a whole section on this. Just know that it's available if there's no other options. This is old school. It's been around for decades. I would recommend, because most of the cellular trail cameras also have the SD function that you can go out and check. I'm calling that the old school function. I would encourage you just to go ahead and get one that is either a Wi-Fi camera or a cellular camera. the amount of difference in there is negligible. You're only paying about an extra $10 or $20 in some cases for the camera. And I would just go ahead and buy the cellular version if I was to buy new. All right, so that's my experience with the trail cameras. I'm really excited to talk about this next section because we're going to get away from the video and we're going to get into the audio. And I've got a couple of devices that I want to talk about for this one. Now, if you're a birder or a bird photographer, you know how important it is to understand the sound. If you've been out doing photography or you've been with somebody, you've probably seen this. Walking around with their phone just held up, maybe even driving in the car. I see it all the time. I do it all the time. Driving down the road with the phone out the window. What are these people doing? Well, they've got an app opened on their phone that's listening for birds. Now, there's a few of them out there. I will tell you, I believe firmly that the gold standard is Merlin. Merlin is essentially a free listening device that as long as you have a cellular connection, it's going to be able to give you results. Now, you honestly don't even need a cellular connection all the time because some of those sounds, it will pick up even without a cellular connection. It is very, very accurate in my opinion. And if I had my druthers, I would just have this be my listening device. However, it's not practical for me to take this outside and leave it outside all day and then go out and check on it every 5 or 10 minutes. So there are other options. So you've got the iPhone option. There are a few of them out there. If you've never tried Merlin, I would highly recommend it. A quick story, because I love to tell stories. I was out driving down a road one day and I had this hanging out the window. The sun had not come up yet. And I looked down just to see what it was hearing. It was spring migration. And it picked up a Swainson's warbler, which I had never seen in my life. And I thought, wow, it's got to be a mistake. There's no Swainson's warblers up here in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I stopped and I listened and it was pretty distinct. It was right next to the road. I went on to eBird and eBird had confirmed that had been seen in that area. Had it not been for Merlin, and that was a lifer for me. So my bird friends know what a lifer means. And I got a great opportunity to photograph. In fact, here's the photograph. I got a great opportunity to photograph it. If I had not been listening with Merlin, there's a good chance I would have driven right past that spot. And I probably would have got home and realized on eBird it had been reported and kicked myself for not being more careful, for not checking eBird first. But true story of how this can impact you. Now, what if I'm at home and I want to listen 24 hours a day? Well, I've got two options for you. I own both of these. Both sent to me by the companies. One probably about 3 years ago, Haikubox. The other one is Birdweather. I'm going to call this PUC, PUC. So for this video, I'll just be saying PUC a lot. They're similar in terms of how they work. They're a little bit different in terms of some of their features. So pros and cons. I'll give you that. I mean, I have a pretty good sense of this. The Haikubox I've owned for 3 years. It's a little device that connects to an electric outlet and it literally just listens all day long. I feel really bad. My Haikubox was, I had a lightning storm the other day with a lot of rain. Since then, it has not been picking up the signals as it normally would. A given day here, I would get between 25 and 45 species of birds, depending on whether it's migration or not. But typical is right around 30 birds a day. Haikubox used to pick up that pretty regularly. And it would pick up, you can adjust the sensitivity. Sometimes it would pick up birds I wouldn't expect. And if I was home, I had the ability to grab my camera, grab my binoculars, go out, try to get a picture, or at least identify it as part of what I have seen over the years at my property. So Haikubox has been very successful for me for a long time. It has a great feature with data and historical tracking. So it does a great job of tracking historical data. I'm going to give you a true story on this one. This summer, I was at a workshop for 2 weeks, and during that time period, it heard a bird that I thought it had to be a mistake. And I had a birder friend with me at the workshop, and I said, hey, this Haikubox is picking up an owl that shouldn't be at my property because it's breeding season. We listened to it, and we are convinced that this was a breeding owl within listening distance of this device. It always showed up at dusk and dawn. That's when the calls were, almost always. It was a breeding time of year, so it wasn't migratory, and I am praying that this will happen again next year, and maybe I can take advantage of it. So combining some of these strategies, I've done reviews on thermal monoculars. Combining a strategy of maybe a thermal device with a listening device might give you opportunities to find things that you would never, I would have never known this bird was at my house. There's no chance, but I'm pretty convinced that it was. So these listening devices can be really, really interesting. So Haikubox I found to be, I've had it for 3 years. So up until this last, literally 2 weeks ago, that device has been very, very stable. It's listening all the time. Haven't had a lot of issues with it. And it stays out there 365 days a year. So it's been out there for a long time in the elements. The newest device that I got, because I wanted to compare these, is a device from Birdweather, and it's called the PUC. So it's called the PUC. I'll tell you what they sent me. Now, I don't do the unboxing videos. I'm going to show you a picture of them side by side on my house. I mounted them both in the exact same place. When they were both working, I would monitor which one's more effective. I can't give you a definitive on this. I did not test it long enough to give you the definitive, and that's not the purpose of this video. I will say both of them worked very, very well. Personally, I liked the interface on the PUC device. So the app, really, really easy to use, very integrated. It did not offer me the same level of statistical analysis or analytics. I reached out to the company and I gave them my thoughts on this, pros and cons, as I always try to do. They sent me back a link with a website. I'll show you what that website looks like as I pull it up. This is specific to my PUC device. And we can do this. Again, I can do this with the Haikubox. If you've got a PUC device and you've never heard of this, I would encourage you to take a look at this. So here I'm going to pull up a species. These are all of the species seen this month at my house. It's an open source software, which means people can design software for it. I'll pull up this Eastern Kingbird. It's going to show me the calendar days that it heard it. And then when I go into time of day, it's going to show me the time of day that it was most likely to be heard. Now, this, again, can be very powerful if you're looking at crepuscular animals or things that are nocturnal. It'll give you a really good sense of that. I found it to be, I would say, Haikubox in this one, pretty close. I can't give you a definitive 1A and 1B, but they were both pretty close. I will tell you this. When I put my Merlin device out there a couple mornings for about 2 hours and came back to see the results, Merlin always found more birds. Now, when Birdweather reached back out to me, they also said, hey, we're developing a new model that they're going to send me to test. So they actually have an updated software system. So they're looking to improve that recognition all the time. I like the company. I like what they did. This device is also more mobile. So you can take this on the road with you and you can connect remotely. So if you were a traveler, I would say that this Birdweather PUC device probably has a pretty big advantage. For me personally, when I travel, I trust Merlin so much. That's what I'm using when I'm out in the woods. But if you had to set it up remotely and leave and then come back, take a look at that. So both devices really, really good. I would give them a thumbs up on both. One more cool thing about this PUC, they sent me the bat model. It's actually, I think the box is back here, right over there somewhere. And I thought, I don't need this. Like this is overkill. I'm not interested in bats. It picks up the birds, by the way. It's not just for bats. It's a bonus feature that's tied in. The price on these, I'm going to put pricing for everything over here and talk about subscriptions and stuff like that. But I'm just going to share personal stories. The bat mode, I started to geek out on it. And so I know I have red bats. There's one that flies, two that fly around my house pretty regularly. I live, again, in this open field next to the woods. It's an ideal spot. I have all these native plants with bugs and moths. So it's an ideal spot for bats to hunt. Only ever confirmed one species at my house. And after a week, it detected 6 different species of bats. Now, not all of them can give me the exact species, but it's identifying this by their calls. And it's apparently pretty accurate. A lot of these calls came back with like 100% validation, meaning it is 100% sure that it is this species. To find 6 species of bats, to put this into perspective, I looked at my county on iNaturalist. They've only ever reported like 3 or 4 confirmed species of bats. Now, they are there. There's somebody that has a database much greater than what I'm giving you. The point is people don't really know there's bats around. They can't see them and they can't hear them. And you're not going to catch these on a remote camera unless you're really, really lucky. But these listening devices give you an opportunity. If you are studying bats, there's a couple, and I'm only doing this one product, but there are a couple products that do just bats. Pretty cool. So if you're into birds and bats, I would definitely take a look at this. So a couple of advantages for the PUC system. I'm going to put up here cost. So this is the item cost for these 2 units specifically. Subscription. Haiku has a subscription associated with it. The Birdweather PUC does not. So I'll put some pricing information up there, what you can expect. I'm happy I have a subscription for Haiku. I'm not getting rid of it. With both devices, I get that sometimes I have an advantage because I can get my hands on things. I have a huge advantage because between the 2 of them, I feel they're really, really accurate. Odd that I have a peregrine falcon that lives behind my house. I can hear him calling. The PUC device never picked it up. So there's some odd things there. My Merlin device always picked it up. The Haikubox picked it up. Other days, the PUC would pick up 5 species that the Haikubox didn't. So there's advantages to having both. But I found both of them to be very, very good. And I like both products. So hopefully sharing some of these personal experiences is helpful. Maybe it helps you make a purchasing decision. I try to give you some examples so you can see the quality that you can expect from each of these. But how cool is it to see things that you never saw before on your property? Mostly for me, it was nocturnal animals. But if you're in a situation or you're in an environment where you think you could benefit from this, take a look at that. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Hopefully you found this video both helpful and informative. And if you did, give it a thumbs up. Hit the bell for notifications. That'll let you know when I have a new video out. And please, so many people love the channel and they tell me how much they like the channel. And I realize they're not subscribed to the channel. Most people just forget to hit the button. So go down and hit that subscribe button and make sure you are officially subscribed to the channel. As always, thanks for tuning into this video. And I hope we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.